I see the numbers growing. I have a connecting, but I'm not sure we are ready to roll. Are we? There we go. Good to go. We're good to go. Thank you so much. Welcome to Bioconductor 2021. I'm Vince Carey. I am leading aspects of the project with Rafa Irizarry. We are MPIs of the main grant, and I welcome you all to Bioconductor 2021. I understand there are over 700 registrations, and this is our opening session. There will be a conference orientation video that has been created by Levi Waldron. We'll have comments from Aedin Culhane, who will talk about the community, and I'll wrap up the opening session with some discussions about what makes the project work and keep it working. So without further ado, here is Levi's commentary.
Hi everyone, and welcome to Virtual BioC 2021. This part of the opening remarks is pre-recorded so that it will be available to you in the same format as at the reference booth throughout the conference. First, I'd like to remind you that the Bioconductor conference is governed by a code of conduct. First, most importantly, there's no harassment tolerated here. If you're unsure and things are getting heated at some point, as a general rule, focus on software and science and the reasons that everyone is here rather than on attributes of an individual. Second, this is a public forum and social media will be in use. Any conference content may be posted on social media. These conference sessions will be recorded and they'll be on AirMeet for participants to watch after the session is over, and they'll be eventually posted on the Bioconductor YouTube channel. Finally, we want to maintain a welcoming environment, and that means no intellectual bullying, belittling, or trolling. If you do observe a violation of the code of conduct, I ask you to please send us an email. You can also file an anonymous report, or while you're in the conference, you can use in-platform flagging of inappropriate posts. And as a reminder, this does apply to all online Bioconductor forums such as GitHub, Slack, and the Bioconductor support site. I'd like to take a moment to give a really warm thank you to our sponsors who have supported the Bioconductor open source mission and helped make this a really affordable and accessible conference. This has been a wonderful year of support from more sponsors than we have ever had before, and it really enabled us to go further in this conference than we ever have before. A very quick overview of the components of BioC 2021 from the schedule. We have 11 long format workshops, 21 package demos or short workshops, 50 contributed talks, and 37 posters. This is the largest, most ambitious Bioconductor conference that we have had yet. We also have all of these other components of the program: keynote talks, birds of a feather session, meeting sessions for the technical advisory board, community advisory board, and core team. We will have Bioconductor awards, lightning talks, a career information panel, as well as a job board and sponsor booths. And I'm not going to go through all of this. I'm only going to go through a couple of parts that are maybe less easy to figure out through the platform. But I do want to note to keep your eyes out for surveys for talk, poster, and workshop prizes. First of all, lightning talks. This is your chance to present something to the audience, even if you didn't submit it during the earlier periods when we took abstracts. The deadline that we will have a lightning talk session on Friday, August 6th at 3 p.m. Pacific time. The deadline for submission is the day before at noon Pacific time. Here is a link for submitting a lightning talk. This is a 4-minute long talk. They are first come, first serve. They must strictly adhere to time and should just have a few slides. This is always a fun part of the conference, and you get to see people's really last-minute bleeding edge work. I want to point out a couple things about the long format workshops, only because they differ from other aspects in that they are accompanied by a GitHub repo, which is an R package and an associated package down site, along with a Docker image, and a free cloud RStudio instance to run the workshop, not only during the conference, but afterwards. So you can run those in the cloud for 8 hours at any time for free. You can run them on Docker locally. And I could also mention that you can run them in Singularity on high-performance computing clusters, although that's a bit more work to get set up. There was an intro to workshops and icebreaker earlier this morning where you can see some more discussion of this, and the slides from that presentation are here. The posters should mostly be available at the F1000 Bioconductor gateway, where we've encouraged presenters to upload their posters, but they will be presented live at 2 times during the conference. And they will be available in the booths area for the entire conference, but we will have these 2 live sessions thanks to our 2 platinum sponsors on Thursday and on Friday, with prizes to be awarded after those sessions. There are a couple of ways to develop a personalized conference schedule. One way is from the BioC 2021 website. There is a calendar there where you can change the time zone to your own, and you can add those events to the calendar of your choice. And a second way is within the AirMeet platform. So this is what the calendar looks like, and the second way is within the AirMeet platform by clicking on Remind Me to add things to your schedule. Anything that, whether it is in your schedule or not, you can watch replays of completed sessions a few hours later just by navigating back to that session. There are a few modes of communication that you can use during the conference. There is a BioC 2021 channel on the BioC Community Slack channel, which you can sign up for here. There are several options within the platform. There are public options with session-specific chat and event-wide chat, and there's also a lounge area with named and unnamed tables. There was an announcement earlier today that you should still be able to find where you can request to have a table named to help find other people with similar interests. And there are also individual options through speed networking and requesting a meeting at booths or with individuals. And that's all the AirMeet introduction that I'm going to give you, but I will mention that in the booths section, you will see right at the top a BioC reference booth where we will have some important links, an option to chat with us, and also some tables where you should be able to find members of the organizing committee. For other information about the AirMeet platform, there is a table 1 in the lounge area that will have an AirMeet representative available there all of the time, where you can go to ask questions. And there is also help from AirMeet through their Guide to Participants video and a step-by-step guide on how to use AirMeet. And last but not least, I'd like to thank the incredible hard work of the organizing committee who has brought this to you each year. It's the largest organizing committee that we have ever had, and I think it shows in the ambitiousness of our program. I tried to give some credit here in terms of the kinds of work that people did in administration, program development, seeking sponsorship, and developing the technology for the conference. All of these people worked hard. I'd just like to make an extra call out to Erica Feck, who did an enormous amount of work in making this possible. Thank you, and enjoy BioC 2021.
Wonderful.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Virtual
Let's move forward. There we are. Well, I hope you can hear me now. Thank you so much, Levi, for setting the stage. We now have some comments of Aedin Culhane, who is speaking about the Community Advisory Board. Aedin, let me know when to move the slides.
Okay, thanks a million. Thanks, Vince. And this is very, very much both myself and Matt Ritchie, but Matt can't be here today. It's at this time, it's a pretty tough time in Australia at the moment. This is just a kind of state of the project, or where we are with the community. Next slide. Bioconductor is committed to open source, collaborative, distributed software development and literate, reproducible research. So one of the big goals of that is enabling user and developer communities. So we have the Community Advisory Board was founded a year ago, and so we're just giving an update very quickly. So we asked, how can we create a welcoming and respectful environment? How can we enable users and developers to learn? And how can we empower our users and developers to really take on that leadership and grow the project, because we know that the sum of our community is greater than the sum of our parts. Next slide. Next slide. Okay, so Saskia Freitag has the code of conduct, and we now have a project-wide code of conduct. We've been working on multilingual Bioconductor, translating in Kozo, and Leo have been translating in Mandarin, or sorry, in Japanese and in Spanish, and we have also been working to translate in Mandarin and to basically make Bioconductor more globally accessible. When you have been making event head stickers with Joe.
I'm sorry, I'm getting the sense that there are dropouts in the audio, lost connection from Aedin. I'm really sorry to hear that. Perhaps the Airmeet folks can comment. All right, I'm sorry about Aedin's lost connection. I'll just comment, and Aedin, when you are able to hear me, please.
Yes, I can hear you. Sorry about that. There were 2 workshops that were delivered at H3 Africa. And also Leo has been contributing workshops in Latin America and in Mexico. Kevin developed BioC challenges. Mike Smith has worked on the Developers Forum, and Kevin, Mike, and myself have been trying to develop the Developer Mentorship Program. We have also been involved in having more people involved with Handle for Bioconductor, having more people able to Twitter to make it more active, and Code has taken over the calendar to basically publicize events. And these are enabling having our community to connect and provide training and education to people, and to empower people to really be. You can join these committees. So please, when we offer members for early in the year, please consider nominating yourself for others. We want to grow the diversity in the project. The CAB now represents our global community and more people in the project. And finally, we want the community to give back. So a recent initiative by both the TAB and the CAB has been the community package reviews. So we want people to be involved in the review process, kind of like, you know, for a journal that people are actually asked to review the project, to review the packages, and to work with the core team. Okay. Do you want to go on the next slide? So really, as far as the community development in Bioconductor, it's really what can we do, what are we not doing? Please tell us via Slack, or is there other ways in which you would like to connect with us? Please tell us. How can we diversify the project? How can we meet your needs? How can we better acknowledge you? How can we better connect the community? How can we see funding? And definitely we've put in a couple of funding applications, which we're very hopeful about this year to actually support outreach. How can we improve communication so that you know about events that are happening locally, globally, virtually, hybrid, or in person? How can we better support Bioconductor communities that speak different languages, do local outreach? Please let us know. We're on Slack. Just connect with us and let us know, and please just get involved. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Aedin. really fantastic movement in the community space. I want to transition to a little more technical concern about what makes the project work. And in order to do this, I want to reflect briefly on data. And I don't want to recapitulate. There's a nice analysis of data on the size, growth, and citation of Bioconductor that Martin did last year. And I'd recommend that you visit that talk. There has been growth, but I don't think the details of the growth are critical. And so I want to skip to another concept. And I'm calling it Bioconductor 12K. It sounds like an endurance race, and maybe we need one, although I don't think I could run 12K in one swoop. We do have people who can. I picked 12K because it does suggest endurance, but also because it's a concise view, a measure of the complexity of the project. So I thought maybe, you know, there are a number of processes, let's call them K, and then there's some coefficient and it's 12. And folks can start debating whether that's meaningful. I hope that I can give a justification for it. So we start out by factoring 12 into 3 times 4. And 3 is the number of platforms that Bioconductor is continuously developed and distributed for: Linux, Mac, and Windows. And so we factor out the 3, and we get Bioconductor 4K. And the 4 is factored into 2 by 2, and the 2 is the release and develop streams. So for each of these guys, we have 2 streams constantly being produced and distributed to the community. And thus we have 6 times Bioconductor 2K. So if Bioconductor is doing 2K things, almost all of them are occurring in 6 different contexts. Well, what is a 2? Well, my claim is that nothing is simple. Everything is splitting into multiples. So if I do something new, I have to create and document it, but I also have to maintain it. And so the thought is that if you really want to control future costs, you have to do less, but we're always doing more. And that's what I want to try and get a handle on. So let's say there are K main domains of Bioconductor effort. I'll fix K to be 3, and those domains are service, science, and coordination. And so 12K is to take the 3 platforms times the 2 streams times 2 avenues for each of these. And we'll find out later on, if you come to the Meet the Tab meeting, that both of these are too small, but let's just try it out. So for service, I claim there are 2 components: distribution. How do we get Bioconductor to the world? Well, there's Hervé Page and Jennifer Walkety working on the Bioconductor build system for checking individual packages and their interoperability. There's also BioC Manager, which is a nice gateway into the package. Gives you a consistent set of packages on your desk, and they get there via content distribution networks from Amazon. We're going to have Microsoft involved as well. Evolution is another piece of service. How do you get from the ecosystem at T to the ecosystem at T+1, from 3.12 to 3.13, and so forth? So the BBS is again involved, daily production of all the developed packages, and repeated building and reporting for the release. There's also, for new contributions, which are a crucial part of moving the ecosystem forward, the single package builder developed by Laurie Kern. And finally, all of this is managed in a Git repository system, most of which is taken care of by Nitesh Turaga for all active sources and contributing maintainers. That's the service, and to get a glimpse of the service that's going on routinely, you can go to the Bioconductor build check reports. So developers spend a lot of time here. Users could take a look too to see that actually in order to get the Bioconductor system going, you need 4,000 packages to be built on a regular basis. That includes the CRAN underpinnings of many of the Bioconductor packages. So that's the service business, and it's very rich and well handled by the small core group that we have. The science piece is also really important and has at least 2 components: genome scale data structure design. So BioStrings was built up by Hervé Page about 16 years ago, and genomic ranges has been around 12 years. And these are fundamental, the foundations of BS Genome for all the different reference genomes, the transcript databases, Johannes's wonderful ensemble databases. They all take full advantage of this infrastructure. That's a component of science, information science, computer science, I don't know what you want to call it, but then there's a biotechnology component. So keeping up with this is one of the reasons that we do so many builds and transition the project so many times, because there's just so much innovation. And Aaron Lunn and others have built up the Orchestrating Single Cell Analysis book, and now we have single cell multimodal, which is spearheaded by Marcel Ramos. So that's the science business. Then there's coordination. So how do we coordinate users and developers? The support site, very active, and a piece of software that has to be maintained. The Slack channels, that's more commercialized, but we have to support that as well. Conferences, as you can see, we have 700 plus individuals registered for this. I saw about at least 150 even listening to this talk. So welcome and thank you for coming. That's just coordinating users and developers, quite a bit of work. How about funding and development? Institutional relationships with the National Institutes of Health. We have a U24, just started in March, with Rafa and myself as MPIs. The Anvil project, which is NHGRI's cloud computing system, we are contributors to that as well and funded by that. National Cancer Institute has Information Technology for Cancer Research. We have a project, a U24 with that. And there's also been engagement with the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative through the Human Cell Atlas and the Essential Open Source Software projects. So this is how we keep the staff funded and active, but the management and prioritization of activities of the project is loosely overseen by a scientific advisory board, technical advisory board, community advisory board, and we have new governance initiatives to help coordinate these activities. Now, the deep stack is one of the things I'm concerned about, and many users probably don't get to think about it at all, but I thought it'd be worth mentioning it, that the build system is important. As I mentioned, there are 3 platforms. Do we need a new platform for the M1 Max? Are there going to be other platforms? New contributions. There are gatekeepers, BioC check and R command check, but these are only partial. We need a review process, and we are trying to engage the community to do that. There are also APIs for getting annotation and experiments to people, and the APIs for these are complicated, and the content delivery needs to be controlled. And then there's hardware underlying all of this. So come to the Meet the TAB for more details about this. So I just want to wrap up a little bit early, reflecting on the early phase of the project. This is a picture from 2003. Jean Yang, Rafa, Sandrine Dudois, Rob Gentleman, Cheng Li, Wolfgang Huber, and Ben Bolstad. Early meeting where we were figuring out how to get microarrays analyzed by biologists and how to get statisticians involved with the methodology for doing that. Then roll forward 10 years into the project, we have an RNA-seq plus CHIP conference in 2011, and you see a very nice, diverse group of people involved. And we've kept trying to get the human meetings going, but the pandemic has interrupted. And so there's been a lot of virtualization, much of which has been mentioned thus far. We have 1,450 people on our BioC community Slack channel, very active. Of course, we have the support site. There are wonderful statistics on that. And we have 2,000 packages that people have to use and talk about and so forth. And getting people together to talk about what to do, how they do it, and what they'd like to do, well, we've had to virtualize that. And I think it's worked pretty well. It gives us more opportunities to reach out to broader communities, but there are costs related as well in terms of, I don't know, energy, intimacy, and so forth that we'd like to reignite in in-person meetings. And of course, they should be hybrid to involve people who can only join remotely. And so we're working on ways to improve the breadth and quality of our interactions with community originated working groups that will be coordinated with the Community Advisory Board and the Technical Advisory Board, and more frequent mini conferences where we can really get into depth without having a full-on conference. And we'll keep you posted about that. Keep an eye on Slack and the support site and the main website, which will be improving as we can. So that ends the slide deck, and we have a couple of minutes. I'll return to Air Meet, and if there isn't any burning question that folks want to raise their hands about, I would say, why don't you come over to Daniela Witten's keynote conference, keynote speech, which will begin at 12:30. So thank you again, and I hope you enjoy the conference.